Hey y'all, it's me Alex. Today is the start of a brand new series for me. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen my little idea for this, but basically it is called It's Complicated. And this is just a series on issues in the beauty community that I have complex feelings about, which is a lot of things. I think that there is a gigantic push in the beauty community and just in the world in general to see things in a very black and white way, which to me isn't always helpful, and it feels as though you have to have your mind absolutely set on something in order to speak about it. Don't get me wrong, I believe in educated opinions. Like, if you don't know anything about something, you probably should do some research in order to form an opinion. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about people like me. I like to do extensive research on various subjects, but I don't always come to a good conclusion immediately or on my own. So I kind of wanted to use this as an opportunity to provide a space where we can kind of work through all of those feelings together. I have a bunch of ideas for this, but the first one is something that I've actually kind of wanted to talk about on my channel for a while, and that is the idea of cruelty-free versus vegan. Because I know that there's kind of like a divide in the beauty community of like, some people only use vegan products, some people just care if it's cruelty-free, some people are kind of like me and are a bit more in between. Can something be cruelty-free without being vegan? What really constitutes being cruelty-free? Because we all have our own definitions. I'm just gonna get into it. I wanted to start first with just like the generally accepted definitions of cruelty-free and vegan. The generally accepted definition of cruelty-free means that both the finished product and the ingredients that went into the product were not tested on animals. No animal testing has been done by a third party, and the company does not sell in countries where animal testing is required by law. And vegan is very different. It means that the product does not contain any animal products or byproducts, for example, beeswax, honey, animal hair, carmine, and dairy. I will say in my dietary choices, I'm vegetarian but not vegan. I eat vegan whenever it's possible, but it's not something that I am fully capable of committing to at this time, but I do try and like go for that whenever possible. And the same with my makeup. I get really excited, like it's a really nice bonus for me when something is vegan. And also, I do have to note that not all cruelty-free products are vegan, as I had addressed, and also not all vegan products are cruelty-free. For example, L'Oreal sells in China, and therefore they have to test on animals. But they also carry some products that are advertised as vegan or without animal products. Ion Color Brilliance, which is a brand that I used to think that was cruelty-free because they advertised that they had so many vegan products, and I got really excited. They also sell in China, I believe, or it was either China or third-party testing, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, I found out that they're not cruelty-free, but they do advertise as having a lot of vegan options. I'm going to go through kind of like my gray areas that, and like kind of where I draw my lines, but I know that's not the same for everybody, but I just want to get this conversation started. One of the main areas that I get hung up on is cruelty-free companies that sell mink lashes. Hi, Editing Alex here. I realized that I didn't actually explain how I have an issue with mink lashes in the video. So basically the main issue is that mink are wild animals that are often captured and put on farms where their fur is harvested. Even if they're not technically harmed by making it, they're still wild animals that were captured rather than domesticated animals that have always been with us, if that makes any sense. Now, you'll notice in my anti-haul that this is something that I brought up about Huda Beauty, and while I have many other issues with the brand as well, that was something that before all of those things came up was something that I did focus on. I remember a more recent case of that was with the brand Ace Beauty. If you've been watching anybody's like Will I Buy It or anything like that, I think you will have probably seen their recent palette teaser releases that have come up. They've come out with like a rainbow palette, a berry palette, a warm tone palette, and like a dark purpley palette. The rainbow and this super dark palette were the ones that I was like super interested in. I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into this brand just to see like what is their price point like, you know, what's their stance on cruelty-free, do they have vegan products, all of that. And it was listed on their website that their eyeshadow palettes were cruelty-free. I'm like, that's cool. And then they're like, but we also sell mink lashes. I'm like, oh, less cool. Because I don't see mink lashes as something that are necessary. There are brands like Ardell that make foam ink lashes. Granted, I'm also the kind of person, I don't wear a lot of false lashes just because they terrify me, so they're for very, 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 very special occasions. Perhaps that's something that like other people might see as necessary, but I really, really, really don't. So that's one area that I do get hung up on. Another one that's even more of a gray area for me are cruelty-free companies that sell natural hair brushes. Now, overall, I've really been working towards moving towards synthetic brushes just in general for me, because in my experience, synthetic brushes just work better for the kinds of looks that I'm trying to achieve. I know that some people say that like natural hair brushes help blend things better, but you know, I haven't noticed that much of a difference, so I do just kind of try and stay on the safe side. And I also know that there are a lot of brands like Sigma in the past couple of years has moved to like all vegan brushes. Sonia Kashuk, I think it seems as though they've changed their entire line to all synthetic brushes, which I think is really cool. One incident that I did have was I had gotten an email from like Coastal Scents about a big like brush package deal. I was like, oh my gosh, I am so excited about this, because that was the time when I was really, really building up my kit, especially with regards to stuff that I could use on other people, and having like a gigantic roll of brushes for like 20 bucks. I was like, hello. That sounds pretty awesome. And I also assumed that since Coastal Scents is a cruelty-free brand, that, you know, it would probably be all synthetic, right? Well, I got the brushes in the mail and I checked it and I was like, oh my gosh, these are so big. I'm gonna have such a good time with this. These are gonna be so good to use. And I checked and they were natural hair brushes, specifically goat's hair brushes. And that was something that I felt pretty uncomfortable with. I still have them because it was something that I'm like, well, I kind of already bought it, and I really hate returning things, especially when it's sent through mail. There was a lot more research that I could have done on my end, so there is a lot on me as well. But that really bothered me because it was a cruelty-free brand, and I know that there are some times when you can get like animal hair in a more humane way, but from what I know, goat's hair is not like as easily obtained in that regard, from what I can tell. I've heard a lot of companies describe the process to get animal hair from brushes, and I will admit that I am more inclined to believe that companies who are cruelty-free will ethically source natural hair brushes than those who test on animals, but I feel as though for me to stay on the safe side, that's something that I want to avoid altogether. Now, the one thing that has kind of impacted me the most recently is the issue of carmine. If you don't know what carmine is, it's basically a crushed up scale bug. I can't pronounce the actual name of it. I will put that up here. And since it's smushed up bugs, it's not vegan. It's usually used in most like red and pink and purple dyes to really give that red pigment. So a lot of red eyeshadows are not vegan. This was actually the reason that I was, well, one of the reasons that I was really excited to get the Makeup Monsters Dragon Child palette, because the red in there was totally vegan, and that's not something you see very often. The only other vegan red that I've ever tried was in that Manic Panic Hot Topic palette I tried towards the beginning of the year. That was kind of awful, so I was really excited about that. So this was something that I just used to not pay as much attention to, but now that there are just like, it's becoming more obvious to me that there are more and more alternatives to make vegan red pigments, I find that it's something that is becoming a bit easier to avoid now. Perhaps I might be overreacting to the issue of carmine, but it is how I feel. Like when Too Faced had their Clover palette come out, the proceeds were going to an animal charity. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I love like the colors in it. And I don't care if something is entirely vegan, but there are certain things that like kind of get to me. And I looked, and in the ingredients list was carmine, and I'm like, I get cruelty-free brands who use that, like whatever. But especially for something that was going to an animal charity, I was like, I'm not judging anybody for buying it or anything, but that kind of was just like, oh, okay, it feels a little uncomfy to me. Yeah, and up until basically very recently, most vegan red pigments either end up being really bad quality or they end up staining the skin. Recently, I've heard of about 3 different vegan red products and pigments. I got ranty and my camera cut out, but I believe I was on the Linda Hallberg Anger Mood Crayon, which is a completely vegan red shade, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. And also the Makeup Monster's Dragon Child palette. That palette is completely vegan, and it has this gorgeous bright red that is really good, and I haven't experienced any staining, and it's really nice and creamy and pigmented and all of the good things. And also Manny MUA's Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag palette. From what I know, that palette is completely vegan, including a vegan red shade, and I've also heard extremely good things about the quality of that palette and that shade. Kind of with the advent of all of these alternatives that are happening to red shades that contain carmine, that's something that I'm kind of, while I'm not the most vigilant about it, it's something that I care a little bit more about shifting away from. And the other thing that kind of gets me about the idea of cruelty-free beauty is that it seems as though we only care about brands who are cruel to animals. And while that's something that I care a lot about animal cruelty, but I think in order for it to be cruelty-free, we also have to care about the humans that are impacted by what we do. While I don't know so much about like the fair trade and like ethicalness in that way of a lot of the brands that I've used, because I find that's a bit easier to find out about clothes rather than makeup products, so I wish that there was more information out there about that. So like that's something that I would like to know more, but I don't, because that's something that I'm working towards, like sustainability in clothes, and that's something that I want to think about more with my makeup as well. But there's also the issues of like, I've seen so much, like, I'm not gonna say drama because I think drama just minimizes everything. I'm thinking about brands that bullied people or were bigoted or racist or sexist or homophobic and all of that. For example, like Tarte created their limited shade range and justified it by saying that people get darker in the summer, so they'd release more shades then, as though people of color only exist during the months of June through August. And Kat Von D refuses to vaccinate her children against diseases that can spread to immunocompromised individuals, and she's also dated multiple neo-Nazis. Or like Jeffree Star has made racist remarks against black people in the past, and he continues to use very misogynistic terms and like literally has a lipstick shade called Abused. And all of these things, the things that people say and do, are ways of causing harm. So why do we consider these brands cruelty-free when the only thing that they're doing is cruelty-free is just not testing on animals? What about cruelty towards people? I'm gonna get off my soapbox there real quick, but that's something that has been mattering to me for a while, because I don't only want to care about one issue. To me, that's something that's impossible. I can't just care about one thing. In order for me to care about injustice and the cruelty towards animals, I have to care about injustice and cruelty towards people. Yeah, people suck sometimes, and like animals just are there living their lives and we're the ones causing harm. That doesn't mean that we don't need to stop causing harm to other people. In order to create a better world, we need to be doing that for everybody. And rant. So I'm gonna kind of try and end this video on like what I think we should be doing. So I feel as though in a lot of ways, I said this at the beginning, that there's a bit of a divide in the beauty community over this topic. So many times we judge each other for not doing enough. Like, I like to believe in the inherent good in people, and so I don't think most people are going around acting like they actively want to harm animals or the environment or even people. To me, oftentimes it's an issue of like accessibility or like knowledge and education and all of that. I don't know of many people who are just like,
yes, I want them to continue to test on bunnies.
Like, no, I've never heard a single person say that. Most people who I've talked to who aren't like entirely cruelty-free are, you know, say about like accessibility is their issue, or like they might not know which brands are cruelty-free and which ones are not. And so on the issue of accessibility, I remember for the longest time in the CVS, the one drugstore that we had when I was growing up, The only cruelty-free brand that was there was Wet n Wild. And now, many, many years later, in that same CVS, they're up to a whole 3 cruelty-free brands. Wet n Wild, Physicians Formula, and Milani. And I would even consider Physicians Formula and Milani to be more on the high end of drugstore, so those things still aren't necessarily affordable for individuals with lower income who are looking to be cruelty-free. And also, side note, like, don't at me in the comments saying that people experiencing like low income issues shouldn't be buying makeup. Nobody's lives should be completely devoid of joy. Everybody should get to enjoy makeup. But basically what I'm trying to say is, like, we need to stop judging people who are doing their best. Like, not everybody has access to the same products that we do. I'm very lucky now that, like, I come from a town of about 400 people, so that's why we had that tiny little CVS. Now I live in the middle of New Jersey, where it's a 20-minute drive to any Ulta or Sephora or beauty store that you could ever want. So I could get just about anything that I need that is cruelty-free, that is vegan. It's a lot more accessible for me right now. Also, when I was growing up, still at my parents' house, we didn't have internet. So, you know, a lot of times, especially a lot of like cruelty-free vegan brands are a lot more indie brands that are only available online. And not everybody has internet, and not everybody would feel comfortable buying from shopping online over like a shared internet connection at like a Starbucks or a library, because like I understand why people are paranoid about that, because protect your data, y'all. I'm getting ranty. It's also like after 10 o'clock at night, so like definitely my most eloquent hour. I'm just saying, like, we need to stop judging other people for trying their best. Like, I would rather celebrate the little wins. Like, some people can get only cruelty-free makeup but have to use non-cruelty-free household products for, like, health reasons or accessibility reasons. Or, like, some people can be totally cruelty-free but not totally vegan. Are any of those things, like, ideal or perfect in this world? No. Are they realistic? Yes. Are people trying? Yes. And we won't get more people by getting angry with each other and, like, perpetuating holier-than-thou attitudes. Yes, I have been acting holier-than-thou this entire gosh darn video. So, like, I'm fully recognizing that in myself. It's just like, this is a thing that I care about. So I'm going to check myself right here and saying, like, I need to chill. I do need to chill. So basically I'm just like, why don't we lift each other up? Let's celebrate when a friend like starts going cruelty-free. Let's help each other with resources, but like, let's just not disparage each other when we mess up. Let's be open to learning about everybody else's situations. Does that make any sense? As you can tell, it's complicated. Hence this title of this video series. But if you have made it to this part of the video, I am very, very proud of you. Thank you for sticking with me through this entire rambly journey. So this is something that I hope it just kind of starts a conversation, because I've done a lot of research. I have like an outline of like 2 whole pages of notes on this, hence if you saw me looking down at my laptop, it's because my notes were there. I just wanted to use this to start a conversation, so conversate, converse. Down in the comments, rules for comments, because I know that these topics can get kind of heated. Rules on don't be a jerk, be nice, and if you're not nice, I will tell you to be nice, and then if you're not nice after that, I will delete your comments. So there you go. I don't think that that should be a difficult thing to do. So if you like this series, let me know, because I got a lot to say on many, many things. And yeah, that's it. I should probably chill out so I can like actually get to bed at a reasonable hour. But thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos from me. I'll see you on my next one. Hope you'll have a wonderful day. Bye.